If you're in the market for a large, high-quality family SUV, but you don't want to go for the German rivals, then we here at John Banks Colchester are super lucky because we've got two brands on our site who offer really good family cars. In fact, we think they're far better than anything else you can currently get on sale. This is the Mazda CX-60 and this is the Honda CR-V. And in today's video, I'm going to show you around both cars, show you all of their highlights, the interior details, specifications and how both of them drive. So if that sounds good, then please keep watching. If you like new car reviews and car content, then hit the subscribe button. And if you had any questions or queries about either car, then I'll pop the details down in the description box. And both of these cars are here to test drive at John Banks Colchester. So first off, let's start by looking at the exterior of both of these vehicles. Of course, this is always something which is going to come down to personal taste, but both of these vehicles share quite a lot in common. There was a time when the CR-V was more comparable to the Mazda CX-5, but in its latest generation, which came for 2023, it's got larger than it was previously, and it's now more comparable to the large Mazda CX-60. Both cars have a very assertive stance on the road, giving you that rugged SUV feel. Of course, with the Mazda, you have this higher bonnet and a slightly chunkier design. The CR-V, however, has a slightly sleeker and sharper appearance. The entry-level engines for both cars are a mild hybrid. The Honda features a 2-litre petrol with around 181 brake horsepower, but the Mazda's is a bit more unconventional. It gets slightly more power at 197 brake horsepower, but it's actually paired together with a 3.3-litre diesel mild hybrid. Both cars are available in all-wheel drive, although the entry-level version of the Mazda is rear-wheel drive. Both cars are also available as a plug-in hybrid, which I'll give more detail about now. The plug-in hybrid Mazda CX-60 features a 2.5-litre four-cylinder petrol engine, a 134 brake horsepower electric motor and has standard all-wheel drive. Its total power output is an impressive 323 brake horsepower, resulting in a swift 0 to 62 mph sprint of just 5.8 seconds. The 17.8 kilowatt-hour plug-in battery allows for 39 miles of electric-only range. This model costs £45,420. Now, unlike the Mazda, the Honda CR-V plug-in hybrid pairs the same 181 brake horsepower, 2-litre four-cylinder petrol engine and electric motor from the mild hybrid. But while the eHEV has four-wheel drive, the ePHEV is front-wheel drive only and gets a much bigger 17.7 kilowatt-hour battery. Due to this, it's not quite as powerful as the Mazda, achieving the same 0 to 62 mph sprint in a more tepid 9 seconds. However, its electric-only range is around 22% more, at 51 miles. The plug-in hybrid model sits at the top of the range at £53,995. Overall, the Honda is the smaller of the two, however, they're most comparable in height, with just 6mm difference. The Honda at 1.674 metres and the Mazda at 1.68. Due to its chunkier styling, the Mazda also sits wider at 1.89 metres, compared to the 1.866 metres of the Honda. The CX-60 is also 39mm longer at 4.745 metres and the Honda CR-V at 6.706, which you'd assume would account for a bit more boot space, but this isn't quite the case. The Mazda CX-60 gets 570 litres of boot space, regardless of engine, which makes it bigger than the BMW X3 or Audi Q5. But despite the Honda being marginally smaller all round, the CR-V plug-in hybrid gets 635 litres. Unusually, it's the plug-in hybrid that has the most storage, due to it being two-wheel drive, and the eHEV is actually reduced to 596 litres because of the all-wheel drive system. One of the most noticeable differences, however, is possibly the entry of the boot. In the CR-V, it's much lower, and that means loading items into the boot will be a little bit easier, and also if you've got animals like dogs, it'll be easier to get those into the boot as well. But overall, they both offer a lot of space, and each of them also comes with an electric boot as standard. I very much appreciate the new design language of the new Honda products. Everything in here feels very high quality, but it's also super practical, and also it's just quite simplistic. And I like that. It's not over styled in any way. Inside this cabin, you've got these lovely leather front seats, you've got a massive leather armrest, and you've got a nice leather steering wheel. And then you've just got a few little lashings of gloss black. You'll find it across the dashboard and also on the steering wheel. I also really quite like these central air vents. There's something a bit different, and they kind of mirror the honeycomb from the front of the grille, and they've put these across the centre of the car. You then have some brushed chrome across this dashboard, which just elevates the quality a little bit higher. On Honda products, you actually have a button set up for your gear selectors rather than a lever like you get in other cars. You've got both USB and USB-C charging, as well as a wireless charging pad. But I'll go through the full list of all of the equipment on both cars in a moment. The infotainment system is quite simple and easy to use, but it doesn't always look the best in my personal opinion. You do have some physical buttons on the side which make it easy to navigate, but most of those systems can be found really easily as you've got a really bold layout. Underneath, you've actually got your climate control, which you still have physical dials. You've got the controls for turning your temperature and also your fan speed up, and then you just have a few buttons surrounding this, including heated and cooled seats, and you also have a few shortcuts to your AC and other various different settings. You have a very cool start-stop button which glows to turn the car on, and I also really like the digital instrument cluster in front of the driver. One of my favourite things about the CR-V is this opening panoramic sunroof. One of the overwhelming feelings in the CR-V is just how much space there feels inside of this cabin, and it also has a ton of storage. You've got loads of storage inside of this armrest, plenty of storage in this centre console, 2 cup holders with the little spongy parts to grip your cups. You also have nice large door cards, and you also get a nice large glove box as well. So plenty of places to pop different items. It's a very similar layout and feel to the interior of the CX-60. There's lots of space and it feels quite simplistic, although everything feels just a little bit squishier. You've got some more squishy materials on the dashboard, the seats feel a little bit plusher, and you also have this contrast trim stitching that runs around the cabin. I also really like the fact that you've got a really wide centre console. This means you also get quite a lot of storage, although it's a lot shallower than you'll find in the Honda. You've got some storage up here, some hidden storage in the centre with 2 cup holders, a little bit of storage up front, a decent sized glove box, and you've also got a nice amount of storage in the doors as well. The overall layout is very good, and as I mentioned, it just feels a little bit squishier than perhaps the Honda. You've got a slightly larger touchscreen up here, and the real positive for most people for the Mazda is the fact that you can control it using this central scroller down here, so it's really easy to use. However, and this may feel a little bit unconventional, it's not actually a touchscreen, so everything has to be controlled via these dials instead. So that's probably going to be a preference to the owner of the car. You've got a more conventional gear selector for changing the gears, and you'll also find a similar digital dashboard as well. You also have this cohesive chrome which runs along the centre of the car and also on the steering wheel as well. Lots of physical buttons on the steering wheel, and I also love this trimmed centre console. It's finished in almost a honeycomb design, which is quite nice. You can actually opt to have the CX-60 interior in lots of different colour options. Every CR-V comes pretty well kitted out. The Elegance is the cheapest model at £45,930 and features heated front seats, wireless charging, keyless entry and start, a rear view camera, a panoramic sunroof and an electric boot. Moving up to the advanced model will add a head-up display, memory electric seats which also become ventilated, a Bose surround sound system, a heated steering wheel and adaptive lights. The top spec advanced tech is exclusive to the plug-in, costs £53,995 and adds a parking pilot. There is also 3 trim levels to the CX-60, exclusive line, Hamura and Takumi. The cheapest of the models is the exclusive line eSky Active D, which costs £45,320. It features a head-up display and electric boot. Most of the upgrades are to the appearance of the Mazda. However, the Hamura does add a hands-free tailgate and boasts surround sound system. Some engines get a sunroof included, which you'll have to check, otherwise it's a £1,000 upgrade, along with wireless charging and adaptive lights. The most expensive version of the CX-60 is actually not the plug-in hybrid, but the mild hybrid diesel at £53,070. Space in the back of the Honda is really impressive. You could easily sit 3 adults side by side because there's hardly any hump in the floor, and that means there's loads of legroom for all 3 passengers. Amenities are pretty good. You've got a pull-out armrest with a couple of cup holders, although no through loading. You've got seat pockets on the backs of the seats, and you've also got rear air vents and 2 USB-C charge points. The real good thing about the CR-V, however, is the reclining seats. So you can choose to either add more boot space by sitting these seats upright, or you can recline them all the way. And then you have a really leisurely position, which is great for road trips and taking a nap in the back. The only slightly disappointing thing in the CR-V would perhaps be headroom. There's not that much of it. Similar to what I mentioned about the front of the CX-60, the rear also feels a bit squidgier and a bit kind of more comfortable. However, that does mean there's a little bit less legroom. So there's not quite as much legroom as you get in the CR-V. Although because you don't have a panoramic sunroof, I have got a little more headroom. So that kind of depends on what your preference would be. Unfortunately, you can't lean these seats back, which is a bit of the shame. But you still get a very similar setup of interior amenities. So we've got the armrest, which pulls out and has a couple of cup holders. Still no through loading though. We've got the seat pockets on the backs of the seats, and we've also got that rear ventilation and also 2 USB-C chargers. A tiny bit more of a hump in the floor, but once again, it's really not too much trouble, although the centre console comes further back. So once again, that means that there's not quite so much legroom in the CX-60 than if you go for the CR-V. Despite being a large SUV, the Honda CR-V is easy to drive around town. It offers great visibility and a 360-degree camera for parking in tight spaces. The car is comfortable and handles well in urban environments. On the motorway, however, it's not quite as quiet as the Mazda CX-60, and it does have some noticeable wind and road noise. It has a good amount of power and acceleration for overtaking. On twisty roads, the CR-V is competent, but not particularly exciting. It offers selectable drive modes, including a sport mode, for a more lively experience. Opting for the Mazda CX-60 plug-in hybrid offers good fuel economy for city driving, but it does have a less comfortable ride due to the added weight of the batteries. It has good visibility and manoeuvrability into tight spaces. However, because of the high bonnet line, it does feel considerably larger than the Honda CR-V. On the motorway, diesel versions are slightly louder than the petrols. On twisty roads, it's enjoyable to drive with minimal body lean and responsive steering. As expected, the plug-in hybrid performs well with strong acceleration. I think you'll agree that both of these cars have redeeming features which make them really competitive family cars. Which one's the best is up to you. If you wanted to test drive either or both of the Honda CR-V or Mazda CX-60, then you can do that all at Honda and Mazda Colchester. I'll pop the details in the description box down below, but let me know which is your favourite of the 2 cars that I featured. And what cars do you want to see featured on the channel next, going head to head? Let me know in the comments. I really hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. And if you wanted to see more, you know what to do. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Until next time, guys. See you later.